Well, if he protested a different way that made you feel comfortable, then it wouldn't be much of a protest in the first place. Genius Insomniac. It's Bruce, the coolest nerd you know, and let me just get into the topic of discussion today. People really responded to Colin Kaepernick's refusal to stand during the national anthem for a preseason game the other day. He didn't want to stand up for a symbol that still represents black oppression and inequality in this country, so he chose to sit down in protest. Simply just sat on his ass. And I, for one, think it's great that everybody has something to say about it. Strangely enough, even if I don't agree with you, I'm happy everyone has something to say about it. But here's what I find funny about that. The NFL didn't have a problem with that. While they encourage the players to stand up, they can't force them to. And he has a right to sit down. And the other funny argument about this is that people say, well, you can protest, but you can protest a different way. I don't really think you know what a protest is. Well, if he protested a different way that made you feel comfortable, then it wouldn't be much of a protest in the first place. The fact that you're protesting something means you're against something. So you should make people uncomfortable in your protest by doing something that makes them respond to you. And it's funny that him sitting on his ass made everyone respond. And it made him so uncomfortable because they felt like he was being disrespectful. A protest doesn't have to be all warm and fuzzy. It's supposed to make you react. That was the whole point. I feel like I'm repeating myself. I feel like I'm going in a circle, just like these arguments. And that's why I find it funny, because he has a right to not stand up just as much as you have a right to maybe speak on why he didn't stand up. You know, and I think it's very interesting that people who have never spoke up at all, like NFL players, commentators, just all kinds of people, have suddenly grown a set of nuts, and they want to stand up with the intentions of an anti-protest. An anti-protest is to try to shut down whatever protest is going on. Like I said, it's pretty funny that one guy decides to stand up and use his voice and his platform, and that inspires other people to suddenly want to show their patriotism and want to show that they're so American by negating and flushing out his entire protest. He didn't hurt anybody. He sat down. You might feel it's disrespectful. That's on your opinion. Standing up and facing the flag during the national anthem may be a show of respect, but sitting down is not necessarily a show of disrespect, except to the people who are disrespected by it. And that's your own personal sentiment and feelings and opinions about that. What's so interesting is this as well. People are saying, well, the men and women of the armed forces, you're disrespecting them because they fought and died and blah, blah, blah. The reason I'm saying blah, blah, blah is because I'm a veteran myself. And what's interesting about this is that most of the people that say that have never put on a uniform. All you're doing is trying to misappropriate the military as your battering ram in order to beat down his protest. You're misappropriating the military to fight your argument. No one asked you to speak up for the military. I know I didn't ask anyone to speak up for the voice of the military. You know why? Because a lot of people have varying opinion on this. Some people may have honor in the flag, which I'm gonna point out. I may be going out on a limb here, but a lot of people who say that they believe this much in the flag are full of fucking shit anyway. And I'm gonna tell you why. No soldier is going out on the battlefield worrying about the damn flag. You know why? Because they're worried about their battle buddy next to them. We don't fight wars where you run out with the flags and the colors out in front of the front line. That went away a long time ago. The only person you're worried about is your squad and your battle buddy next to you. And even when those colors are raised and you're in uniform, yes, there's a sense of pride there. But guess what? The people back home still have a right to let someone know they don't like what's going on. You have a right to say, hey, I don't like this, so let me do this to draw attention to it, to draw awareness to it. And it's funny because a lot of people would love to have that platform to push whatever agenda they wanted to push. And this agenda is not a self-serving agenda. It's something he believes in, whether or not he's gone through the oppression that you say he has or hasn't. The people that have so much to say about Kaepernick sitting down is because they say, well, you're biracial, you grew up with white parents, what do you know about discrimination and racism and things of that nature? Which ironically is kind of funny because they're telling him, you don't know about racism. Racism doesn't exist. And they're telling him that while in all caps calling him a nigger all over Twitter. Ain't that a coinky-dink? So you tell the guy he doesn't experience any kind of racism because he's biracial by calling him a nigger on Twitter. You don't really know what situations he's been in because of him being biracial. And the thing about it is that most people didn't know he was biracial until they were told he was biracial. You wouldn't know that President Obama was biracial unless they told you he was biracial. And you know why? Because the color of his skin makes society already identify with him as being black. My oldest daughter will tell you she identifies with being black because she can't escape that. She can't just say, well, you know what? I'm half white, so let me just choose to be white today. She can't choose which one to be. The color of her skin, automatically when you see her as a little black girl. And that's how she's treated in this society. And the things that come about with her being a black girl in society, that's what she has to shoulder. So she identifies with being black. Same way as Colin Kaepernick. Before anyone told you he was biracial, you thought he was black. I know a few people thought he was Middle Eastern. I guess I can go for that. I actually thought he looked a little bit like Nomar Garcia Parra. Not really racist, and that's something different. But anyway, what's interesting about this is people are calling him un-American for exercising his right and his freedom by telling him that he should leave the country for exercising those rights and freedoms. So I find it a little bit strange. It's like, okay, so he exercises his rights and freedoms, and you're mad because he exercises rights and freedom. And then you say, okay, well, I have a right and freedom to respond. And then your response is for him to leave the country. I mean, him exercising those rights and freedom is as American as he can be. The people who are just yelling and screaming and typing in all caps, that's just as American as him protesting. One of the biggest things that sticks out is that no one's actually paying attention to why he's saying what he's saying. They're just saying you shouldn't say that, and you shouldn't do this to get attention to it. Who the hell are you to say what he should do to get attention to it? He's not hurting anybody. Even if you feel it's disrespectful, so what? He's not harming anyone, and he is not impeding anyone's pursuit of happiness along the way. He's not spewing hate towards anyone. People have disrespected the flag and went on killing sprees and had GoFundMe accounts opened up afterwards. This stuff still happens. So anyway, I just find it interesting that all of these people who suddenly have a voice have ignored the actual substance of what he was saying and only care about his execution. And since this is a reciprocating conversation, I'll say again, it really says a lot about your patriotism when the only time you can speak up is when you're trying to negate someone else's attempt to help others around him. But I'm gonna end it right there. If you enjoyed any of all this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you hated every damn thing I said, dislike this video on YouTube. Doesn't matter to me. I'll be back tomorrow to make another video on something else. Maybe a serious topic, maybe something that's all fun and games. Who knows? That's what we do here on Genius Insomniac. We take a trip through my craziness, your craziness, everyone's craziness, and see what happens when we come out on the other side. So, hate it or love it, I'll see you guys tomorrow. And as always, I'm Bruce, coolest nerd you know.